what the hell?
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to...
Was that the bite of 87?
Welcome to a poor recap of How to Train Your Dragon. Now the movie starts with a gloomy shot of the Isle of Berk, which has a major pest problem. This hero is Hiccup, the protagonist of this film, and he is weak as shit. And because of this, none of the big beefy adults want him anywhere near the danger, especially the village chief, Stirk the Vast. More like Stirk the Thick, like Jesus. And because he's such a beta male bitch, Hiccup is forced to work in the village smithy, under the watch of the village cripple / blacksmith. I don't know why I mentioned he was a I'm calling him Peggy. Now Peggy keeps stopping Hiccup from joining the fight because there's literally nothing his spaghetti arms can do. In response to this, Hiccup tries to flex his crafting table skills and show off his new invention.
Right, I'll tell you what, you fat little
After Peggy marches off into battle...
They need me out there.
Yeah, no they don't. Hiccup, being the hooligan he is, charges towards a cliff and sets up the Clash Royale Expo. Then this building here just appears, like what? Which dipshit is trying to build a tower during the raid, like come on. It gets destroyed a second later by a funny black dragon, which we soon find out is a Night Fury. Now quick backstory on the Night Fury, it is scary as shit, powerful as hell, and no one has ever seen one, let alone killed one. Hiccup, being the pro gamer he is, closes his eyes, bear with me, opens fire on a random point in the sky and actually hits the elusive dragon.
I hit it! Did anybody see that?
Yeah, boy.
The funny small man starts running from the fire-breathing nightmare, which is now chasing him on foot. I don't know why it doesn't use its wings to quickly
Destroy the child.
really just a middle finger to what must be millions of years of evolution. Hiccup gets pinned against a pole, but it turns out the dragon nutted too early. So when Stirk the Vast steps in, it's far too hyped up in post-nut clarity to even bother fighting back. So the dragons leave with a load of sheep, and everyone blames Hiccup because, you know, he's a loser. And we also find out that Hiccup is Stoic's son. And I thought I was a disappointment. Hiccup tries to tell him that he just hit one of the most devious licks earlier, but his dad's like...
I know you have something to say, and I know you're eager to say it, so I'll get right to the point. Shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear it.
So Hiccup gets sent home for being a little shit and practically screwing over the entire village. But like we know, he a gangster. So he runs straight out to try and find the Night Fury. Now this dragon, you know, it fell from the sky and crash landed in a dense forest. Like there's no way it's still alive. No fucking way. Man's just bing chilling, what the hell? Now Hiccup feels bad and decides that he can't go through with the brutal execution. So the motherfucker, get this, releases an apex predator that he knows wants him dead. Like I know you're kind of a dumbass, but why do you think this is a good idea? So of course the dragon jumps on him and hits him with a... I personally would have eaten the child, but I'm not allowed within 500 meters of a school, so, you know, what do I know? After being spared, Hiccup goes home and has a chat with his dad, who doesn't seem to listen to his concerns regarding brutal dragon slaying and instead forcefully encourages him to enroll in dragon training. Now this is kind of similar to the talk I had with my dad, where he forced me to join a football team. I'm only joking. I've never met my father. So Hiccup joins dragon training with some other characters. I'm not going to use their real names because... I forgot. But we have
Fish.
We also have Jonah Hill, Dick and Dom, and I shit you not, a character called Astrid. Who did this? Peggy releases Ogdo Bogdo and tasks the recruits with defeating him using only shields. Now, if the big frog dragon hits a recruit's shield, the recruit gets disqualified, but if it hits a recruit's body, they die. Seems fair. The dragon takes out Fish and Dick and Dom. Then we see Jonah Hill trying to offer Astrid his meaty schlong, but he gets eliminated. This truly says a lot about society. Hiccup then gets hit on the shield but doesn't get disqualified. Like, Peggy just doesn't bench him. He's clearly favouring the funny small man. That the prick. Hiccup then almost dies from some bullshit tunnel vision, and Peggy has to step in to save his ass. After dragon training, Hiccup returns to the jungle biome to find a trail of giant chalky buttons. Oh, and then a dragon. Now it turns out the Night Fury is having performance anxiety and can't peace out. Hiccup taps into his more creative side and makes the grand discovery that the dragon is missing its... I'm not a dragon biologist. It's missing its left foreskin flap, I don't know. The dragon gives him a stare down like,
You took my fucking penis flap.
which rightfully spooks him out and he dips. Back in Berk, it's dinner time and the kids get shown the Dragon Manual, which is a fat book that contains everything the Vikings know about every dragon they know of. But of course reading is... shit. So instead of learning vital information that would make it far easier for them to fend off dragons in the future, all of them peace out. But Hiccup stays because Hiccup is a massive loser. But before he starts reading, he first puts out most of the fires because... dramatic. He flips through the manual to the Night Fury page and there's nothing.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
Anyway, we cut to the adults who are on the search for the dragon spawn point. But the fuckers gonna start spawn camping, aren't they? Bruh. Wow, way to go, Stirk the Cowardly. And yeah, they sail into this curtain of fog because Stirk feels in his dick that it's the right way to go. Oh boy, I can't wait to see what we find behind this ominous cloud of fog, but... Back to Hiccup. He's in some sort of maze being chased by Big Bird. Dick and Dom start making out and almost get vaporized, then things go to shit and the Big Bird starts destroying the arena. I mean, you guys could have very easily avoided this by building some sturdier walls. Lazy shits. Astrid then spends like a good 10 seconds forgetting how to stand up, then she steals Hiccup's shield, like not on purpose, but still not very nice. Then uses it to deck Big Bird across the noggin. Then this bitch turns around and starts yelling at Hiccup to start taking this shit seriously, like back the fuck up, Thought. From your perspective, he jumped off a wall, landed on this bitch boy, stood in his face, and they got pissed about being where he landed. Like, the fuck? Hiccup returns to what is essentially his slave dungeon, like come on. And he offers a fishy to his hungry friend. And similar to when I offer my wife divorce papers, the dragon becomes completely docile. And it's here that we discover that it doesn't actually have any teeth. After some friendly bonding, the dragon tries to smile. Fucking hideous. But he isn't too keen on moving to second base, so tries to move away from the annoying child. But Hiccup is racist, so he doesn't understand boundaries and keeps trying to get close. The dragon then discovers Hiccup's artistic side and attempts to create some art of his own. Turns out dragons are shit at drawing. Yo, he's drawn my tapeworm! Some more bonding passes where the dragon mildly threatens Hiccup's life. And dickhead, this shit really isn't that hard, like come on, quit overthinking it. And the pair finally make it to second base. How cute. Aww. Please don't draw any Rule 34 art. Back in Berg, Peggy shares his Vietnam War stories and helps Hiccup realize why his dragon friend is struggling to perform. So Hiccup leaves early, but Astrid is getting suspicious. Then, based entirely on a quick sketch he made days ago, Hiccup crafts a perfect replacement foreskin flap for the dragon, which he has named Toothless. Very cute. Now, being the trickster he is, he attempts to distract Toothless using a big crate of fish, but makes the careless blunder of including an eel.
What the fuck is that?
Toothless seems to know what's up and prepares to fly. Now, at this point, the film really needs to pick a lane. Is Hiccup a weak piece of shit, or does he have the grip strength of a Persian demigod? Like, come on. Toothless attempts to remove Hiccup gently by throwing him while traveling like 20 miles an hour. But without Hiccup, he's fucked and the pair tumble into the lake. And the first test flight was kind of a success. Back to dragon training where they're combating Minecraft Flint and Steel. A dragon with two heads. One head shits out flammable gas. Oh, it's probably methane. It's probably a fart. Oh my. And the other head ignites the fart similar to Minecraft Flint and Steel. These two Giga Chads accidentally assault the woman. I'm not legally allowed to endorse this, but fish. Nuts on the wrong head, leaving Hiccup to deal with the But as we know, Hiccup has cheat codes, so he scares the dragon back into his cage using the eel, which is very lucky considering that he'd have no way of knowing that this move was super effective against two different types of dragon. The next day, Hiccup attempts to mount his friend. Once again, Rule 34 artist, please back off. We also find out that dragons love grass, so much so that just a few blades is enough to completely immobilize a fully grown dragon charging towards you. Now, Burke has a lot of grass. Like, even in the opening raid, we see the dragons around, grass. So I don't know why they don't collapse immediately after reaching the island. Maybe it only works during the day, or maybe Hiccup discovered a patch of radioactive grass that says dragons with an epileptic fit. Yeah, I really don't know. But Hiccup's public displays of power have attracted the attention of a lot of people, which he, being loser, hates. So he avoids them and continues hanging out with Toothless when he discovers the instant KO ability. So once again, he employs his knowledge in the ring. I have no idea why this dragon stopped to sniff him. Hiccup's next power-up is a laser pointer, which he uses to drive this rat back into its cage, but, there's no way he can get an angle to reflect sunlight through the metal door, so I'm not sure why the dragon ran all the way back into the darkness. I really don't know, but I also just don't care. Astrid is getting more and more suspicious of Hiccup, because apparently she's the only one who sees through the lies of the dragon tamer. With their new equipment, Hiccup and Toothless are finally flying high in that, I'm just kidding. They are attached to a noose, but they are really getting the hang of this, until the wind reaches such a strength that it snaps the rope and sends a fully grown dragon flying back into some trees. Like, guys, run. There's like a typhoon or some natural disaster in the way. There's no way wind gets that strong randomly. Anyway, the adults have returned from their hunt empty-handed. I have no idea how they sailed back on these ships. My guess is they've just been floating in the Atlantic for months now. So the confused then misinterprets his fellow Vikings and thinks his son has either died or run away, and doesn't really sound too upset, more just curious and relieved. Meanwhile, Hiccup and Toothless are cruising. Like, these shots mixed with the soundtrack are honestly majestic, and I'm currently wielding a very proud boner. Like, but then the wind yoinks the cheat sheet and Hiccup also just takes off his seatbelt mid-flight. That's against the rules. And they just start falling towards the ocean. After remounting, Hiccup realizes that he's sick of all this nerd shit, so just decides, fuck it. He then perfectly navigates through these columns of rock using pure guesswork and emerges the other side victorious, only to be consumed by a ball of fire. After their fight, the two of them are chilling and Toothless tries to offer Hiccup head. Rule 34 artists, I swear to God. Then these rat bastards fly in and try to steal some of Toothless's fish. How do they get all these, by the way? Like, I doubt Toothless is keeping a fishing rod up his ass. Toothless then commits team grief, and Hiccup discovers that dragons are just like cats. Absolute dickheads until you give him food. Hiccup doesn't hear the sound of a 6'9", 400-pound Viking walking up the stairs and is ambushed by his father for round 2 of parenting. Stunk the Sentimental gives Hiccup a helmet that was made from half of his mother's breastplate. Then he proudly claims that his helmet is the other half. What the fuck? Back in dragon training, Sturg watches his son one-shot a dragon, which makes Astrid all pissy. Gonna cry? Proving himself as a strong Viking man, Hiccup gets chosen by the village crackhead for some dragon killing ritual. I don't know what this is, I wasn't paying attention, I don't even know if it was mentioned before. But of course, as we know, Hiccup is a coward, so his immediate instinct is to fucking leave his home and never come back. Dramatic? Yes. Effective? Yes. Inspiring? Yes. Anyway, he gets jump scared by Astrid, who somehow managed to make her way onto this rock without making a sound and alerting the apex killing machine in the corner. Hiccup tries to stop her from finding his BBC, a big black companion, and attempts the trivial excuse of claiming that he makes cosplay. Astrid makes the correct response to that statement by committing aggravated assault. What, you make cosplay? You wear clothes? What the fuck? So Toothless and Astrid finally meet, and instantly try to kill each other. Luckily, being the top allows Hiccup to defuse Toothless's rage and save Astrid's life, and to thank him, she just runs away.
We're dead.
Well, yes, but actually no. I mean, a second ago you were planning on leaving forever, so like, what does it matter if Astrid tells your village that you've domesticated a wild killing machine? Instead of dipping, the two of them commit one whole kidnapping, which you would think is bad, but remember, she a bitch, so I think it's fair game. She gets very safely dropped onto the edge of a super thin branch, and Hiccup invites her to ride on his BBC, who still isn't too fond of her, so he attempts to fucking eliminate her. Also, I have no idea how she doesn't fall off here. Like, we know Hiccup has a seatbelt on, but she's just using like the friction of her hand to keep herself Oh my god. Now, Toothless is a little bit of a bastard. He does a nosedive into the ocean. He tries spinning because, you know, that's a good trick. But eventually, out of fear, Astrid finally apologizes and Toothless is instantly cool with her, because that's how friendship works. I think. I don't have many friends. Then we get a really beautiful scene where the three of them just kind of glide around at dusk. They go upside down with Astrid again, somehow not falling off, and they phase through time itself. Illegal, yes, but looks very nice. So Astrid sees how cool it is to ride a dragon and moves to second base with Hiccup. God, Toothless is a good wingman. Pun. But then all of a sudden Toothless goes sicko mode and flies the three of them directly to a Travis Scott concert. I wrote the script quite a while ago and that was a relevant joke. Please forgive me. Here we discover that all dragons are tier 3 subs to this thick boy, and anyone who doesn't give enough is eliminated.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier.
Astrid wants to tell the village that they found the dragon's den, but Hiccup knows that Viking dumb, so wants to keep the nest a secret to protect his scaly boy. So it's the next day, or a few days down the line, or a few months. When the fuck are we? It's that funny dragon killing ritual I mentioned earlier, and we got Hiccup equipped with his mother's breastplate, along with a shield and a teeny tiny knife. The gate bursts open and, okay, who turned on fire spread? Come on guys.
Battling Hiccup is the monstrous nightmare, a ferocious beast with razor-sharp fangs that will attack anything that's not a dragon.
I mean, unless it's a small child, in which case it will slowly approach the child and give it a good sniff. Don't worry pal, I do the same. Oh, or I did, and plug up, put in that register. Hiccup takes this opportunity to show everyone the dragons are pretty chill, and tosses aside his mother's boob plate helmet to ease the dragon's mind. And his display of friendship worked. Now the whole village is in shock of this display of peace, except from Sturg the untrustworthy. You see, believe it or not, but he actually cares about his son. And watching him get torn apart by an oversized lizard, no, it probably wouldn't be too nice. So he brings the hammer down and orders that the fight be stopped. But the loud clanging triggers the dragon's monkey brain mode, and he just goes fucking apeshit. And you'd never guess it, but it turns out Toothless has super hearing, and is awoken from his slumber by the sound of Hiccup somehow outmaneuvering a scaled killing machine. Now I know that just 10 minutes ago he didn't hear a single trace of Astrid waltzing in on him, but I mean, in his defense, I ignore women too. So everyone is now trying to save Hiccup. Astrid broke into the ring, very illegal, but I let it slide. Toothless does some sick parkour and charges at like Mach 5 to reach Burke. Stunk the fatherly rushes in to try and get him out, but after only managing to save Astrid, he just kind of stands there watching for like 8 seconds. Stunk the bitch does make an attempt to run in and fistfight the nightmare, like something we know he can do. But Toothless arrives and drops a few smoke grenades, shrouding the arena in dust. Why? Because it looks fucking sick. The two dragons wrestle, Toothless of course coming out triumphant because he's raised in the streets or something. I can't remember, I wasn't paying attention. And after seeing a dragon fighting to save a human's life, the Vikings, you know, being as you know, brain dead, decide to beat the shit out of it. I guess from their point of view it's like a shiny Pokemon, but come on lads, chill out. Toothless spots Sturg the handsome and decides that it's time for a war crime. And very politely all the villagers stop to watch Toothless blast his fucking head off. Now luckily for you ladies out there, and me, Sturg the Lucky was saved by the fact that Toothless realized his breath smelled like shit. And once again, after seeing this dragon decide not to kill a human, the Moran Vikings decide to continue their assault and wrestle Toothless to the ground. Sturg the Fuming is, well, fuming. The Hiccup essentially tricked his way into becoming his favourite child. Idiot. You have to kill dragons to be his favourite child. What do you mean you're his only child? Hiccup, while trying to cover for his new BBC, lets slip that he's been to the Dragon Island. He also then tells his dad that only a dragon can take you there. Hiccup, you fucking dumbass. He tries to convince his dad not to go beat up a dragon the size of a mountain, but Sturg the Confident doesn't give a shit. He then disowns Hiccup and prepares for the attack on the dragon spawn point. We see that they've strapped Toothless down into a very uncomfortable chair, and now I have no idea how they got him from here to here. Now you may think this is a very cruel way to keep an animal. And you'd be right, but it's okay because they gave him a cute little neck pillow. We chill, Peter. Stoke the captain tells him to set sail for Helheim's Gate. Now, look, I know you're a bit excited, Stoke the Impatient, but maybe check with your dragon tour guide / slave to make sure. Like, you were just told that only the dragon knows where the spawn point is, but, you know, you seem very confident to set sail to a random point in the ocean. I know you can feel it in your perfectly spherical testicles that the nest is around the area, but look, man, tingles in your testicles, you know, they aren't normally a good sign. Tingles from the stomach? Maybe, but tingles from the testicles?
You got testicular torsion, my brother.
Astrid tries to comfort Hiccup by telling him how much he screwed up and how he's lost everything he ever cared about. Like, I'm telling you, man, she's a bitch. So Hiccup gets all mizzy and whines about how he's the first Viking in 300 years to not be able to kill a dragon. Just you wait for the sequel. But then Astrid is like, yeah, you got massive BBC though. The two then decide to do something batshit crazy to save the day because that's what children do. The Vikings have very quickly made it to Helheim's Gate, without the use of Toothless, of course, and the armada of boats enters the fog. This then triggers Toothless's traces and he begins pointing them in the correct direction. Stoke the chauffeur decides that the designated driver isn't skilled enough to drive, so he jacks his ride and does it himself. How brave. We see Toothless guiding the ships around rocks, which is dumb. Like, I understand that he knows where the island is, but this Spidey sense should just be a straight line towards the island, not a fucking Google Maps route through nearby terrain. Why? Well, because he's a motherfucking dragon, so he can just fly. I mean, technically that's incorrect because he's an amputee, but, you know, his dragon sense doesn't know that. This terrain-perfect navigation is like airplane autopilots following road routes below. Like, no, stop. So the adults make it to the island. Very cool. But back on Berg, Hiccup has gathered the other rejects who were too small to partake in the battle and pairs them up with their dragons. Now, bear in mind it took him a lot of gifts and flirting to tame Toothless, but, you know, taming the rest of these dragons is done within seconds. Like, he didn't even have to touch these guys. They just seem chill with trusting the younglings that just spent weeks training to kill them. Years of dragon evolution wasted. God, I wish I was a dragon, so I could, you know, kill children, you know. Stoke the Strategic creates a plan to end the dragons once and for all. Now, this is starting to sound like a race war, but, you know, it's a children's movie, so it's fine. I mean, as long as he doesn't raise his hand like an... Using a boulder and a, I think it's a trebuchet or a
Rock cannon.
They crack open the mountain, which is surprisingly thin, you know, for a mountain, and then use a fireball to scare out, like, I mean, at least 20 dragons. Stoke, the poor aim, fails to hit a single dragon. In fact, no one managed to get their grubby mitts anywhere near a dragon. What looks like every dragon dips, and the Vikings being, you know, as we know, as sharp as marbles, take this retreat as a sign of victory. I mean, the dragons probably just noticed that your entire village is just pulled up, and are currently on their way to stomp on your houses. Fucking morons. Stoke, the eagle-eyed, manages to see Toothless wriggling around from this distance. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Anyway, he somehow sees it and realizes that shit is about to hit the fan. The metaphorical fan. There's no electricity in this Viking shithole. At that moment, Big Funny Dragon bursts through the mountain and crushes a good few Vikings. I never realized this when watching as a child, but holy shit, they get trampled. Now, unfortunately, Stoke the Hefty was around here when the dragon started to break out, and like I said, you know, he's a hefty boy, so there is no way he'd be able to make it clear of the death radius. But lo and behold, he's the fastest motherfucker alive! After seeing the monster they now have to deal with, Peggy hits Stoke with a, looks like your mother.
Odin help us.
Oh, look at that monster.
No dick, no balls, and probably no butthole since this guy feeds on radiation.
The dragon sets all of the ships ablaze using his industrial-sized flamethrower. I mean, you could have instead just fried the large crowd of tightly packed Vikings stood beneath you and then just stomped on the ships, given that they are large and stationary targets. This dragon is clearly very smooth-brained.
Not that way.
What? No. Anyway, Stoke the Brave has a genius plan. He sends all the men to the farm.
Women.
What?
And women.
Well, no, he specifically says only the men.
What the fuck?
Stoke orders all of the men to be led to the far side of the island, while he is going to try and fight this dragon one-on-one. It sounds ridiculous, but that's his legit plan. He claims that he can buy them a few minutes, which is utterly ridiculous. Like, even if the dragon chose to hunt you alone, do you really think you could survive more than a few seconds?
Eat a Snickers. You're not the same when you're Shut up!
But don't worry, because after hearing this, Peggy claims that he can double that time. Motherfucker, you have a wooden peg leg. Watch and learn, kids. We call this one Suicide by Dragon. But just in the nick of time, the dragon reinforcements arrive, and everyone stops running for their lives to ogle at them. Don't worry, guys. I'm sure the mountain-sized dragon will wait for you to look on in awe. I mean, anything less wouldn't be good sportsmanship. The younglings formulate a plan to take down the dragon while flying in a funny circle formation. I have my doubts on whether they'd be able to hear each other like this, but I'm more concerned about the dragon's aim.
What are you aiming at?
Fish.
Claims the dragon does not have a blind spot, something we were told that all dragons have. But he only checked in like one position. Fucking move further back and check again, dumbass. Meanwhile, Hiccup spots Toothless, who despite being sat in a burning ship for 3 minutes is doing a-okay. Hiccup tells Astrid to leave and help the others, which I guess makes sense. I mean, unless there were some locks and chains holding a dragon down that you probably needed help unlocking, which would be a whole lot easier using, you know, dragon strength. But no, Hiccup just sits next to a roaring fire while trying to free his BBC.
Fish.
And Jonah Hill forget that their current attack is a major weakness to both of their dragons. So both of their mounts just tap out, and apparently so does physics. Like, this looks very illegal. Ignoring that, Jonah Hill starts going to town on the dragon's eyeballs, a very effective move. I mean, until Astrid starts flirting with him and he loses focus like a total simp. The big dragon stomps on the boat that Hiccup and Toothless are in, so Toothless sinks down to the bottom of a surprisingly deep shoreline. Marine biologist, please tell me, how? Hiccup dives down after him and drowns in like 10 seconds. Like, I know he's a child and all, but come on. Luckily, Stoke the fish pulls him out and goes back down to break Toothless free. What a character arc. He went from hating dragons to not. Oh, but not just that, more character development incoming. He apologizes to his son for everything. Literally everything. God, it really is so kind and so brave to take responsibility and apologize for that infant child that I brutally beat up and then held in the deep fryer while working at KFC. After seeing Hiccup's BBC erupt into the sky, Astrid announces that he's up. An interesting way to put it. The big dragon then activates the Mega Suck and tries to swallow Astrid whole. I don't do physics or anything, but I'm sure that just simply falling down a bit would have easily solved the situation. But instead, Toothless Hiroshima's the dragon's mouth, right next to where Astrid is. Astrid's dumbass dragon just fucks off, leaving Toothless to catch her instead. Or actually, she won't, just don't worry about it. Hiccup is then like, dragon have wings? Dragon fly? And yes, dragon do fly. And those wings were deceptively small when they were folded up. They are much bigger than I thought. The big dragon chases the two of them, but is only just out of reach. Oh, if only it had some really cool ability to suck them in and close the distance. Maybe it's on cooldown. Hiccup then quotes my father,
Time to disappear.
and they start rising into the clouds above. Up in the sky, Hiccup and Toothless are absolutely wailing on this guy. The poor bastard has no idea what's going on. He's really gonna have to adapt his playstyle if he wants to stand a chance in this competitive What a fortunate son. Whoopsie doopsie, Hiccup made a fucky wucky. He made Toothless's replacement flap out of cardboard or some flammable shit. So Toothless is now on fire. Again. So with time running out, the two of them only have one chance to save the day. So they enter a nosedive with the big dragon right on their tail. I'm not sure whether it's possible for Toothless to outrun the chunky boy while flying directly downwards because of gravity and mass and shit. But he does that. The big boy is still refusing to use his Mega Suck ability, so instead opts to engulf not just them, but the air he's about to fly through in flames. But if this movie has taught us anything, it's that Hiccup doesn't take shit from large dragons with 6 eyes. So he manages to sense when Vietnam War crimes are about to take place. Toothless does a spin move that probably pick up a spine under multiple G's of strain, and he shoots a blast directly into the dragon's mouth, filled with flammable gas. The big dragon then realizes that not only is his mouth in flames, but he's about to fly directly into the ground. Nice one. He tries to pull out, but he got weak game, and the friction from deceleration as well as the literal bonfire billowing out of his mouth causes his wings to rip
and tear until it is done.
And he crashes into the base of the mountain. But instead of just dying, there's a nuclear level explosion, like the dragon was filled to the brim with flammable gas like methane, aka fart juice. Toothless tries to escape the rising explosion, but his penis flap snaps away, and obviously that means he can't do anything but fly in a straight line directly into the dragon's funny mace tail. Now Toothless should be dead, or at least missing his lower half, but instead Hiccup gets knocked unconscious by the impact, so his seatbelt comes flying off. I mean, obviously. And Toothless has to dive into the fire to rescue him.
Oh my god! He's fucking falling! What the fuck? Why did you do it? Oh my god! I'm about to piss myself!
We see Stoke the Foggy running through the rubble searching for his dear old son, but he only manages to find Toothless, who's just taking a nap. I mean, he definitely deserves it, but like, surely he could have waited. Now, I was expecting to see more remnants of the massive dragon that just crashed into land here, or perhaps a crater from the big fire explosion event that just took place. I mean, Toothless definitely landed around where the dragon crashed because, you know, motherfuckers are crippled, he can't fly for shit. Now, Toothless wakes up from his nap to see the entire village mourning around him, which is, you know, very annoying for him, as he thought he'd be able to kidnap Hiccup discreetly, but now there's a bunch of witnesses. So instead, he reveals the child from the cocoon of his body, and Stoke, the medical professional, I'm guessing here's a heartbeat, and thanks Toothless for bringing his son back to life. He responds by staring at him like, what? So everyone is happy, even the dragons and Vikings are getting along. This is so epic. Hiccup later wakes up in his home with Toothless by his side. I just assumed the poor bastard was in a permanent coma, but this is a much more uplifting end for a children's movie. He gets out of bed to discover that he can now claim benefits from the government. Truly a win for this brave character. And despite there being a sizable chunk of the lower door missing, Hiccup doesn't at all hear any noises from the outside and is ambushed by a village overrun with dragons. This is how I imagine Paris is, but with rats instead. Fuck you, France. Everyone is really happy to see Hiccup awake. Must be nice. And they're all really careful around him, given that, you know, he's just recently gotten a whole new foot and can barely walk. Oh, except for Astrid. Fucking bitch punched him. Oh, and yeah, that's sexual assault. With some new flying gear. Sure hope that shit's flame retardant. Hiccup and Toothless set flight along with the rest of Berg. Very convenient that they've all learnt how to train dragons without the aid of the village fairy, the village dragon tamer. Oh wait, the film's called How to Train Your... Oh my god, that makes sense. The film's a tutorial, oh my god, How to Train Your Dragon, this is epic. And the movie ends. Very good movie. I enjoyed the parts with the hardcore dragon sex, and my favourite character was easily Spite Lout, because he was voiced by David Tennant, apparently. What more do you want from me? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and hit the little bell so you don't miss the next video. Spoiler alert, it's vengeance.